What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show, perhaps the longest edition in the history of the show, as we've got 14 games. We will make our best efforts to skip through some teams that don't have much going on to try to keep this under 3 hours. The goal is under 3 hours today. Sometimes our goals are under 1 hour, but under 3 hours for a 14-game slate. With me to it, as always, on Fridays, Justin Van, Fantasy, Gallagher from Established Run. Justin, ready for this monster slate?
Yeah, things are going well. It's hectic time of the year. Seems like every morning we're getting reports that players aren't happy, coaches are on a hot seat. Lakers yesterday, Warriors this morning. So, let's keep it going.
It's that Christmas spirit. People want new gifts, right? They want new coaches under the tree. They want new playing time situations. People are saying my audio is glitchy.
You're good now. Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Man, this funky audio driver. What a challenge. Mike, how are you feeling? Any requests you have for a new coaching staff, Mike?
Nah, I don't have 6 sources. It's funny, you get the 6 sources, and like I said to Fan, I was like, I didn't know Jonathan Kuminga's middle name was sources closest to. Like that was like quite obvious where that source came from. With he had an interview with Marcus Thompson from The Athletic after the Christmas game. So yeah, Kuminga on Christmas. You know, he's the Grinch apparently for Kerr. That'll be fun to talk to, by the way.
6 sources and 7 fishes. It's a holiday tradition. Let's move to the game by game stuff. We're going to start with the Atlanta-Indiana game, but we're going to kind of zoom past most of this game really quickly. On the Atlanta side, DeAndre Hunter remains out. I think we've seen kind of what they're doing in the absence of DeAndre Hunter with Jalen Johnson back, so I don't think we need to go there. Indiana side, though, Bruce Brown listed questionable tonight, right knee bone bruise. They've got Andrew Nembhard listed questionable as well with the mid-back sprain. Justin, what are your expectations here for the Pacers?
Yeah, I think Bruce Brown could definitely miss this game. He missed 5 games with this knee issue, return on Wednesday. He said that his knee has been bugging him for weeks now, and that it got to the point where he couldn't bend his knee without pain. So him popping up on the injury report again after returning, playing 28 minutes is a bit concerning. So I think he's probably closer to 50-50 here, true questionable, just given his history of missing games with this issue. We saw, TJ McConnell pick up Andrew Nembhard's minutes last game. And big thing here is Buddy Hield. Like his role has really significantly gone down. Played just 13 minutes on Wednesday without Nembhard. So, he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised for them to unload in the coming month. He just seems kind of had to fallen out of favor. I think Bruce Brown definitely in danger of missing this one.
Yeah, so timeline on this. Bruce Brown said he played through this injury for 3 weeks, and then it was just too much, and they sat him out. And he said he was good after returning. So, but the back-to-back, I think, is a big factor here. So that's the one thing. You covered Hield. I'll add, more or less, Carlisle called him a cheerleader for like supporting his teammates and all that stuff you hear about, like veteran players who get their minutes cut. Should also mention that, report earlier in the year when there was some trade buzz on him that, came to mind. Obi Toppin playing well at the bench. Rick Carlisle says it's, quote, hard to put into words how impressed I am with him. And then, if Bruce is coming back, there's going to be, quote, lineup fluidity, according to Carlisle. So we could see a Will Hardian kind of, starting lineup switch. We were trying to figure out who starts. And, we saw the last time these teams played, it was like a small ball fest. And, we've seen 49 minutes of Halliburton, Bruce Brown, and Nembhard playing together. Like, I'm kind of thinking they start small and put Nesmith at the 4 if Bruce is in. It's a good chance Bruce is out. But I kind of think Jalen Smith, whose minutes haven't been great, could get pretty cut down here. And I think Obi's just kind of cooked. Mathurin's playing well. Dink and I were talking about, him being dead for 6 man. He's kind of alive if Buddy's getting this cut down. I don't think he's a good bet now. If the odds get a little bit longer, I think he's like possibly something to look at.
All right, let's move to Utah and Boston. On the Utah side of things, pretty clean injury report. But Gallagher, I know you wanted to talk through the starting lineup fluidity with Will Hardy and the Jazz, so I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk through this. There's no injuries to report, but we do have to just talk through a little bit on this lineup that we've been seeing for the last 3 games. It was not used at all in the season, and despite pretty good play, that lineup's been bad. They are minus. I'm trying to find my notes here. It's a bad number. It's like minus.
I think they're like minus 23 net rating or something. Yeah, 20 net rating.
God, my matchup is too long. Yeah, minus 23.4. Yep. So I think I think they stick with it because you need the wing defense here. So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts, but they've gone with it 3 times in a row after they were changing it game after game after game after game. So I think he kind of likes it. Simone Fontecchio is playing pretty well.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have thoughts on the situation? Should mention also Clarkson just playing out of his mind the last couple of games.
Yeah, I think Fontecchio would be the one that stays. I think that if there'd be some movement, it'd be in that kind of front court center-ish position. I don't know what they'd really do because would they bring John Collins off the bench? I don't really see that. Obviously, Markkanen's staying, so I don't know. It's tough. I think they're going to get killed either way against Boston. But this is a Will Hardy kind of move where he. Gives you a false sense of security. He runs the same lineup out for 3 straight games, and he pulls the rug, under you and just makes a change out of nowhere. So I feel like this might be a spot where he kind of pulls something out of the hat.
For sure.
Yeah, they've also. I know the lineup itself hasn't had success, but they've had success last few games. If they're going to make a lineup change, just from like a cultural standpoint, vibe standpoint, it would probably make more sense to do it after getting wrecked by Boston than to do it, now. So I think we'll probably see the same lineup tonight. And then if they are intending to make any changes, I would think the next game after what I assume will be a difficult performance tonight in Boston would make the most sense just from a morale perspective. Because as we were just talking about in the open, you want your players to kind of buy in to understanding what you're trying to accomplish as a coach. And when they don't buy in, you lose the opportunity to coach them further. So I think that's the way that I'd lean on this. Boston side of things, Al Horford listed questionable for rest. No other notes here, just G Leaguers. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on whether we see Al Horford play tonight?
Yeah, I think the pretty clear expectation here is that Horford sits today, then plays tomorrow. And we see kind of Luke Kornet has emerged recently as the backup center of choice ahead of Neemias Queta, who had a stretch there, but Kornet has played really well and played himself into that role. So I would expect him to slide into that backup center spot. And then we've seen O'Shea Brissett in the past take Horford's rotation spot. So I'm kind of leaning towards that way. It's moved a little. It's still 13.5 point spread. Will note that the Jazz have been terrible on the road versus expectation. Relative to the point spread, they've underperformed by an average of 6 points per game, like second worst mark in the league. So on the road, 13.5 point dogs. I think this one can really get out of hand and finish somewhere in the 20s potentially. So both sides, there's significant blowout risk here in this matchup.
Yeah, and just to add, just terrible defense, second worst pick and roll handler per possession, and worst transition points allowed. Jaylen Brown leads the NBA in transition possession, so it could be a pretty big Jaylen Brown game.
All right, let's move to New York and Philadelphia. The New York side of things, Malachi Flynn listed questionable here. It's unclear whether he'd have a spot in the rotation above Deuce McBride or not, even if he is available. I think that would take time to work out. Any other notes here on the Knicks, Gallagher?
Yeah, he kind of poo-pooed the Deuce McBride minutes, so I wouldn't be surprised if Malachi leapfrogs him. And then, as we've been seeing, just massive Hartenstein. The Bulls went small against him. He just killed them on the boards. So his minutes are really, really secure. They don't want to play Precious very many minutes here. And should note, Julius Randle's role is insane since this trade. He's first in front court touches, more than Jokic, more than anyone in the whole league. For front court touches his last 2 games. Doesn't have a half court buzzer beater, but Randle playing really well. And Jalen Brunson's role has been really strong too. And you see a lot of assists. I will note it's like a little matchup-y. The Bulls trap a ton. They they double the ball like almost more than anybody in the NBA. So it's kind of like ticked him down. It was more of a pass first. So curious to see how it holds up. OG's minutes have been really good. Pretty straightforward rotation. I don't know if you have anything to add, Fan.
Yeah, I think this slants back a little bit more towards Jalen Brunson in this one than Julius Randle. Kind of what you said, alluded to with the matchup stuff. No Melton on the other side too helps the spot for Brunson. So I'd be interested in Brunson over Randle if you're picking a New York Knick.
It's just a year early. a year early on the Hartenstein love, man. Last year, my guy. I can still call him my guy because he didn't get drafted this year. But man, could have used all these fantasy points last year when I think I had last round Hartenstein on like every underdog draft possible. All right, Philadelphia side of things. Robert Covington questionable here. Furkan Korkmaz questionable. D'Anthony Melton out, as you noted, Justin. What other notes do you have on the 76ers?
Yeah, Covington, Korkmaz don't really factor in too much for me. I think Covington is on the fringes / out of the rotation with Nick Batum back, and Korkmaz is battling a couple other guys like Daniel House and Jaden Springer, who he's been behind. So I don't think their status is really moving. I think obviously D'Anthony Melton still dealing with that sore back, so he's out. We saw them kind of go jumbo and slide Kelly Oubre over the 2, which makes a lot of sense. He got big first half run, so he's playing. Him and Tobias Harris pretty much got the same stint in the first half. They're playing 18 first half minutes, so his minutes should be very, very solid. They filled out the back end of the rotation with Beverly, Daniel House, Jaden Springer, Marcus Morris, and Paul Reed. But yeah, that's kind of what I have. Just solid roles for Oubre and Maxey with Melton out.
Yeah, and I'll add that Nurse said he likes that Oubre Batum combo to put it in his quote unquote toolbox for future lineups, even when they get Melton back. So it's just something to file away there. And then he said he liked Jaden Springer. He said it was quote an easy decision to bring him in. So with Melton out again, I would expect him to get minutes. And yeah, just the Oubre stuff. He was just hot early, and that matchup was so good. I mean, catch and shoot guys, 3-point guys who could space the floor, absolutely just wreck the Bulls more than anybody in the NBA. So. I cocked him up on the show, and I was looking for a bigger game, but looked like he was. But the garbage time kind of got him a little bit.
All right, let's move to Oklahoma City and Brooklyn. The Thunder, I think we can skip over pretty quickly. No injury news there to touch on. On the Brooklyn side of things, Dennis Smith Jr. probable and Lonnie Walker probable. We've been without Lonnie Walker for quite some time. He was a big part of the Brooklyn Nets early season as a surprise player off the bench. What are your expectations tonight, Justin, for his return?
Yeah, so Lonnie's going to be in the rotation right away. I've got some comments that he's going to play limited minutes. Obviously, not a surprise. They're pretty deep, and he's coming back into a pretty crowded backcourt wing rotation now that I kind of want to dig into here. And Cam Thomas, obviously, in the middle of a massive shooting slump. He's missed his last 20 shots, 0 for 18, 0 for 6 from 3 over his last 2 games, played just 17 minutes on Wednesday. And I think we're at that conversation. We have to have that talk. The way things are going, they're getting DSJ and Lonnie back today, it looks like. Is he at legit risk of being out of the rotation soon if it continues to go this way? I think that's a big conversation. Nets fans have been clamoring for him to play more, and I understand why, but defensively, he has been very rough. That Washington game I watched the whole way through, they were repeatedly targeting him to where they had to pull him for another not great defender, Spencer Dinwiddie. It was that bad. So I think it gets crowded, like I said. They have Dinwiddie, they're starting Bridges at the 2 now, and it's DSJ, Cam Thomas, Lonnie Walker. And Lonnie Walker played really well before he got hurt, and he should be a part of this rotation. So curious to see how this continues to affect Cam Thomas, his role. And then it lowers the minutes floor too of Spencer Dinwiddie. He played 28 on Wednesday. And like I said, DSJ and Lonnie are back now. So those 2 guys, Dinwiddie and Cam Thomas, are the 2 that I think are most affected here with these guys' returns.
Yeah, just to add on Lonnie, he was going to come back a little bit sooner from his injury, but he got sick, and they kind of pushed his timeline back till they got back home here. So yeah, that's one thing. You covered most of everything that I wanted to say. The only thing I'll say is think about the matchup here. Think about how much they're probably going to need Dennis Smith Jr., which, to your point, again, Spencer Dinwiddie's minutes and Cam Thomas's minutes are so insecure here. And I don't think they're going to be able to slow down SGA. I cover boyed him for matchups. I took Brooklyn -5. I think this is going to be a blowout. And
OKC -5.
They're playing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Oh, yeah, sorry. OKC -5. Excuse me. So I think this is going to be a blowout. Nick's Claxton's minutes have been pretty secure, and Mikal Bridges is in a slump too. He's not getting as much pub as Cam Thomas, but like you said,
yeah. Well, I think he is for sure. But there's the comments are still they're trying to build around him. I don't think they really have a choice, and he's just miscast right now. He's not a number 1. like he has
Yeah.
been kind of forced into,
Yeah, and then last thing I'll say is you said with the Wizards game, if you're playing in a game with Jordan Poole and he's not the worst defender on the court and you are, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
One name you guys didn't note that I will in terms of vulnerable for minutes here, especially in this matchup, Day'Ron Sharpe. Earlier in the season, when they had all these guards available, their solutions to finding minutes for everybody was cutting down Day'Ron Sharpe in the backup center minutes and kind of playing smaller in the second unit. Now, they had Ben Simmons for a lot of that portion as well, who was like a little bit easier to play as that small ball five compared to like a Royce O'Neal or a Dorian Finney-Smith. But I would just note, especially in this matchup where OKC likes to play smaller in the second unit as well, there's the potential here that Day'Ron Sharpe's minutes could also be vulnerable. He's been playing really well, so I think it's a little bit less off the table than if he was playing poorly of late. But I will just note that he was not a consistent member of the rotation early in the season when they had this extra guard and wing depth, and so be careful there as well.
Yeah, and Trendon Watford's the easy guy to pick on. And who's more vulnerable then, Sharpe or Cam Thomas? Like, that's how bad. I think it's like close.
I think it's Cam Thomas of the two.
Crazy,
We've seen him at stretches be like on the fringes of the rotation, and Sharpe plays well generally. I think there's an argument where he's like outplaying Claxton. Some of these games I'm watching, and he's earning more minutes. So just in terms of on-court impact, and what Jacques Vaughn is looking for, I think Sharpe lines up a little bit more with what they kind of need and what he wants.
All right, let's move to Washington and Cleveland. On the Washington side of things, I think we can go pretty quickly here. Landry Shamet out. Mike, any notes on Washington that you want to touch on real quickly?
Just a chance that they could condense things. We saw them, almost cut out him, so we could see maybe some more DeLon. Tyus Jones minutes could be more secure. Of course, this team just got absolutely throttled. I mean, they had no chance. Jarrett Allen killed them on the boards. They killed him in fast break, killed him with catch and shoot stuff, killed him every which way you can. Cavs don't even play fast and they put 140 on you. So that's just a testament to how bad this Wizards defense is. They're last in like almost every category, every front court category. So that's certainly the headline. Kuzma's cooling off a little bit. And then, the Jordan Poole little fun run is kind of over. But, I think they could just kind of condense things without Shamet. What do you think, Finn?
A few weeks ago when Shamet was out, Unseld Jr. went 9-man in tight games without Shamet. So the bench unit he ran was DeLon Wright, Kispert, Koulibaly, and Mike Muscala / Gallinari, one of them. Muscala appears to be the favorite right now in that role, but this is a 10-point spread, so I don't think it's going to be a tight game where they're going to run 9-man. And obviously, to touch on Cleveland real quick, Jarrett Allen has been on an absolute tear, and he gets the nut matchup here against Daniel Gafford and this Wizards team. So amazing spot for Jarrett Allen tonight.
Spike front court touches, man. Like they spike when Donovan was out, and they're still going. They're just like, all right, cool. We'll just keep giving him the ball, and they've been running him on like the elbows, at the nail. They've been using him like, like a Şengün, Jokic, Sabonis type. It's been really cool.
Yeah, we've talked about before, but just the offensive change going from Darius Garland to pick and roll to Donovan Mitchell, which is more dribble handoffs, that just gets the ball in Allen's hands and is a decision maker a little bit more frequently. So we're seeing a big role as a result. We'll move past them real quickly, but just for the viewers out there, Evan Mobley and Ty Jerome and Darius Garland all remain out. Ricky Rubio not with the team anymore, bought out. So those are the notes on the injury report. I think we've covered it from there. Can move to Charlotte and Chicago. On the Charlotte side of things, Mark Williams listed out. Hey, not doubtful. So breaks the 13-game streak, but still listed out with the lower back contusion. Gordon Hayward listed out with left calf strain. LaMelo still out. Amari Bailey, Leaky Black, and Frank Ntilikina all out as well. Mike, what are your notes here on the Hornets?
My first thing are we done with this Bryce McGowan's thing? I mean, just start Martin, right? So I still think they're going to start McGowan's, but just enough already with this. With Levine coming off the bench, maybe it makes sense to bring Martin off the bench to kind of cover those minutes there. But I just don't get this Bryce McGowan's thing. It's gone on way too long now that they have Martin back. Brandon Miller back from illness, we think. The Hornets are pretty shady with their tags. And then big minutes from Miles Bridges. Terry Rozier, massive role. He's like top 3 or 4 in like all the role stats I care about. Not so much on the drives, but the touches and the passing stats have been really strong from him. Matchups really bad, especially now that Levine's coming off the bench. As I mentioned kind of earlier, the Bulls are number 1 in a lot of pick and roll handler stats. Again, because they put 2 on the ball all the time to force extra passing, which leads to the open shooting. So Brandon Miller, who leads the team, in catch and shoot opportunities, could be returning in a pretty big spot if he can get the minutes. And of course, if this game could stay close with a 10-point spread.
Yeah, I think the Cody Martin thing is inevitable at this point, and him coming off the bench initially was, he came back from an extended absence. They were kind of ramping up his minutes. He got up the way to 33 in a start last game. So I think it makes sense, pretty soon to make this move. With Brandon Miller, really interesting comments from Clifford. He was listed with a hip contusion, I believe, on the injury report. And Clifford said he was actually dealing with an illness after the game, the same illness that sidelined Terry Rozier on Monday. So, that hip illness that's going around, it's pretty contagious these days. So I think Miller should be relatively good in terms of role. I don't think we'll see like a big cap. His role has been pretty solid and creeping up there. We're expecting like 30, 32 minutes a game. 23-24% usage in that range. That's kind of been his role. So he's in a really solid spot.
All right, Chicago side, very full injury report here. We'll have the return of Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, but they will do so off the bench with minutes limits associated with them. Patrick Williams also listed probable along those two, as is Alex Caruso. They remain without Torrey Craig here and without some of their G leaguers. So Mike, from a rotation standpoint, how do you think the return of Vucevic and LaVine impact things?
Yeah, Casey Johnson said that LaVine's going to be getting a 25 to 30 minute. They are off for 2 days, so they could, maybe hit the high end of that. He's been ramping up for a while. We talked about the straight line running, 3.5, 4 weeks ago. So quite a clear ramp up for him. Expect him to hit that minutes limit. Obviously, the matchup is fantastic. The Hornets are terrible on the defensive end, and Vooch again, not out as long, kind of hitting his target from the range they gave, the 7 to 10 day range from when he first hurt himself. So yeah, we got a 24-24 split on him and Drummond. Drummond's been playing pretty well, so I'd expect them to cover those minutes. This is the Terry Bowl here. You got Terry Taylor, you got Dalen Terry, and you got Terry Rozier in this game. But the Terry boys, at least on the Bull side, are going to go away. So the starting lineup should be the same. Still see Dosunmu. I think Javon Carter could go bye-bye in this spot to free up LaVine. And that's kind of where we're at. But he could still see some spares. But I don't think this is going to affect the minutes for like the Kobe's, and DeMar's will come down a little bit from like we've seen some 38, 39s. But I think it just affects like the secondary bench players. What do you think?
How do you have the bench rotation shaking out? I have a 4-man right now of LaVine, Vooch, Ayo, and Terry Taylor in that Torrey Craig role that they ran a bit, but it sounds like you guys have Terry Taylor going away. Yeah,
we do.
So
we have Dalen sneaking in there.
Oh, Dalen. Okay. You have Dalen over Terry Taylor. Okay.
Yeah.
I would also note, I think there's a decent chance this could be like an 8.5-man rotation. One of the challenges of, playing these starter level players. I don't know if I call LaVine and Vucevic stars, but they're starter level players off the bench in minutes limits, is that you're going to try to get them to somewhat starter levels minutes. And over time, by doing that, the only way to kind of make that work is to either reduce the starters minutes already that you have or reduce the number of rotation players that you have. And between those two choices for a Bulls team that the guys we're talking about towards the end of the rotation, Javon Carter's got the most pedigree there, but has really struggled with his shot this year and is potentially falling out of the rotation. And then we're talking about Dalen Terry and Terry Taylor. I think the option, especially with days off after this, could be more like an 8.5-man rotation. So a 9th-man rotation could be really, really limited just on the whole.
And that's what I have too. I have basically 8 with solid minutes, and then a 9th at nominal minutes. And you look at the 8 that we're talking about, all these guys can play full starters minutes and are capable, right? I think Caruso and Drummond are the two that are like shakiest, but Caruso, has played mid upper 20s pretty consistently. And then Drummond has just started for a stretch without Vooch and has played a good amount of minutes, and he'll probably just split the center minutes down the middle with Vooch, right? So I think an 8-man rotation, assuming this one stays competitive, is very likely. Maybe see someone sneak in with like 4 or 5 minutes in a more nominal role maybe like a first half stint of like 4 minutes and then nothing in the second half or something like that. I think is very possible.
And I'll just add one more thing. With Levine off the bench, I'm pretty confident the first sub is going to be him for Caruso, and then they'll bring Caruso back in to sub in for Patrick Williams, and they'll cover the power forward minutes that way. So that's why I kind of don't think they need to, and I kind of don't think they need Dalen Terry either. Again, we're just kind of finding minutes here.
And this kind of rotation lines up with how Donovan subs things anyways. How he does things is he pulls DeRozan first and runs them with the bench unit. And then, Levine and Vooch are the ones that staggered away from DeRozan generally. So this just kind of lines up with how he kind of runs his rotation anyways.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm interested to see. They have a pretty favorable schedule coming up. They play Charlotte in consecutive games. They're not back-to-backs. There's 2 days off after this, but back in Charlotte the next game. Then they have Houston at home, Golden State at home, at San Antonio, at Cleveland, at Toronto, Memphis at home. The stretch, I actually think this type of rotation that they're kind of being forced into off the bench might actually work better for them. Just naturally like forcing a stronger stagger with a team that's played well in the first unit since, for the most part, the last few games have been a step back. But I think it'll be interesting to see. I could easily see the Bulls, going off on a little win streak here and then kind of reassessing things as they always tend to do.
And something to note too, obviously, that this is Zach LaVine build up his trade value season. So showcase season for him. They have every incentive to kind of put him out there and show what he's capable to rebuild his value. Because I think Woj was doing some reporting not so long ago saying his value is relatively low in the market right now, because obviously the injury plays a hand in that. So they're trying to like rebuild him and showcase him again before the deadline.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And what a matchup. He put up 49 and 13 threes against the Hornets earlier in his career. So he likes playing the Hornets.
No better way to do it than getting more time against second units as well in terms of a little stat pattery. Let's move to the Clippers and Pelicans. The Clippers we can move past really quickly. Moussa Diabate listed out the only notable thing on the injury report there. The Pelicans, Trey Murphy listed questionable once again with this left knee tendonitis. Justin, any updates on whether we'll see Trey Murphy tonight?
Yeah, well, they updated his injury tag from soreness to tendonitis, and this kind of been a lingering thing. We haven't really gotten comments from Willie. I haven't seen anything. I've obviously listened to his post and pregame pressers. I haven't caught anything. So I think he's like highly questionable just with the lingering issue. Would kind of treat him as a standard 50-50 to go here. And we saw, without him on Wednesday, Herb Jones got all the way up to 37 minutes. He's been a big beneficiary without Trey Murphy. Jordan Hawkins has slotted in as that nominal 10th man. But other than that, I don't think there's a ton else that's moving. Tari Eason just got ruled out on the 2:30 injury report, and Gary Trent Jr. popped up as questionable. We'll get to those spots a little later. But yeah, that's kind of all I have on the Pelicans.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, this is the same knee he had meniscus surgery on. You mentioned the tag change, so I don't have too much to add. And just while we're here with the Clippers, since we're not going to talk about their injuries, they haven't lost with Kawhi in the lineup since November. They've gone 11-0. They're playing great. 1 point spread. This game could be in like really good matchups here. The Clippers don't have someone who they could have to guard Zion, and the Pelicans don't have someone that can guard Kawhi. So I think those guys could have some big games today.
Let's move to Minnesota and Houston. Minnesota injury report really clean. Luka Garza, third rotation center, the only player listed questionable here, so we can move quickly past them. Houston side, Tari Eason questionable with lower left leg soreness. The same thing, he's been questionable for a while. Finally missed a game. Last game on that one, Dylan Brooks out with the right oblique strain. Justin, what are your notes here on the Rockets?
Yeah, Eason just got ruled out on the last injury report, so he's out another game. And we saw, before we got this news, I was on the show last Friday talking about Tari Eason's minutes and how I was kind of skeptical. And the coach came out and said, Udoka, that he's going to be on a 25 to 27 minute limit for the foreseeable future. Anyways, now that he's out for a second straight game, we're going to get Cam Whitmore seeing most of those Eason minutes, more Jeff Green. And this also bolsters the minutes for Jabari Smith Jr. 4 games that Eason has missed this season, 33, 31, 42, 32. So he's a pretty safe bet for 30 minutes, at least, a competitive environment when Tari Eason is out.
Yeah, they need him. He'll be guarding Cat, I would say. And they might even flip things around a little bit, but I would expect him to guard Cat and Cat to guard him, which is great. Cat So just real quick with the Wolves, since we're not covering them, Chris Finch talked about defense on Zion, and Cat guarded him first, and he called out Slow-Mo and Ant for covering Zion. So like it was like a shot at Cat's defense, which was quite bad from my point. So one thing that I wanted to add on top of what you said, and I think actually is the lead here, is Amen Thompson's minutes are really safe. There was a comment from Udoka saying they're going to try to find him minutes. Again, this is before we found out Tari Eason was out again. So we got Amen up there. We got him, I think, at 18 now. And actually, that was before the Tari Eason adjustment we're about to make. So, like, off the top of my head, we're going to probably put Amen at, like, 20. I think the minutes are really safe. He's got a lot of size for, like, a 3. We saw in the preseason, they love that 3-guard lineup with him, Jalen Green, and Fred VanVleet. So I think he could be up there, man. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, like, even if he's, like, cooking, I could see him even, like, closing in the spot. I think it's a really, like, low-key spot. Obviously, the matchup's horrendous here, but just wanted to shout out Amen Thompson. It's funny, we went from, why did I draft Amen Thompson on my best ball team when I should have drafted Asar? The shoe's on the other foot now.
Yeah. Well, the best ball contest was declared over by Chris Lafficus already, by anyone who had Oscar Thompson and Cam Thomas, and Tyrese Maxey. So if you have those 3, Chris Lafficus has your winnings for you available. He's already declared the contest over. All right, let's move to Portland and Dallas. On the Portland side of things, Jabari Walker listed doubtful here. Brian Rupert and Justin Minaya, G Leaguers, listed questionable. They're also without Moses Brown, so we'll miss the first 4 minutes of tonight's game, and DeAndre Ayton, who's also out. Gallagher, what are your thoughts on the Portland Trailblazers and all these center injuries that they're dealing with tonight?
Yeah, Baji season, man. Foul fest. I think they had 19 free throws in the first quarter. 17 or 19. It was absurd. It was just foul. I mean, you got six all over the place, man. And they are so foul prone. So Tamani Kamara is going to guard Luka. And it's just how many, and should mention Anthony Simons is on a minutes limit. That's probably coming off considering he missed time for illness. But should note, obviously the minutes helped a little bit. Scoot was the lead ball handler. Ant, who was playing on ball all day, prior to his illness, he lost a ton of handling to Scoot. So Scoot's kind of the lead dog. So we've got the center minutes to kind of go back to that. We have it pretty close to 2020 with Baji and Duop Reith, and then we snuck in some Ish Wainwright minutes, a couple, Jeremy Grant center minutes for small ball stuff. And then blowout's a big factor here, so we didn't go too nuts. And then Malcolm Brogdon's minutes really cut down. We really cut down Matisse Thybulle. We've seen Shaden Sharp's minutes start to increase. We have him at 26. I think that minutes limit is coming up a little bit today. So you're really feeling the squeeze from, it's funny. They're like all these injuries, but they're like really centralized in the front court. So I think these wings could get squeezed a little bit because Scoot's just earning more playing time. And obviously they want to play Shaden Sharp.
It's so tough to do these Blazers minutes, man, when they're in so many blowouts too. It's like, what's a minutes limit and what's just blowout, right? So I'm having to look at a lot of like first half minutes, first half rotation before it kind of gets really ugly. We'll say Scoot, like him staying in the starting lineup, even with Shaden back, like 20 and a half minutes in the first half of Wednesday's game. I mean, they're really, really kind of ramping up his role. I have his minutes at 34 today. I had him at like 33 and a half. Has kind of been moving him up. I have Shaden at 26. I think he had 11 first half minutes on Wednesday. So bumped him up a little bit. And I think we've kind of proven repeatedly in this spot that it's very hard to get excited about any like Blazers center. So I think the split, the 2020 split between Baji and Duop Reith makes a lot of sense. Maybe one of them doesn't get ejected. Maybe one of them doesn't get hurt, and one of them emerges. Well, we don't know.
Yeah, it's
pretty much the same page.
It's a very difficult situation to project, and obviously Dallas is a team that will play smaller in the second unit. So even though we're projecting 40 like true center minutes, it's possible we're over projecting it just because we've seen a lack of consistency on this side of things. And 34 fouls in a game, man, that's 5 players worth of fouling out is incredible. In addition to when it comes out with a guy getting ejected as well for 2 flagrant fouls. Really outrageous, and the same matchup again. So good luck not fouling Luka and Kyrie if we see Luka in this one tonight. Let's move there. Dallas side of things, they'll be without Dante Exum and Rashawn Holmes tonight. Questionable tags on Luka Doncic, Derek Lively, Markieff Morris, and Grant Williams. So Justin, what are you thinking about these questionable tags? It seems like the spot to get Luka and get him off. This has been really outrageous what they've put on his back of late. So what are your expectations here?
It seems like a relatively minor injury. They're calling it ankle swelling for Luka. I think this like ankle bug is going around this Mavs locker room with Derek Lively and Grant Williams suffering ankle injuries last game. So Luka was trying to get in the party. I would be pretty confident he played if this was like a competitive playoff level team. The fact that it's the Blazers makes me nervous that they might give him a night off. I'll say right now, tentatively, if I had to guess, like I'd put it like 60-40 he plays. Like I said, I'd be more confident in him playing if it wasn't the Blazers. Derek Lively, I was pretty surprised with the Q tag here. I think he's very iffy and probably closer to doubtful, honestly. He had to be helped to the locker room after suffering that injury on Wednesday. He missed 4 games last month after spraining that same left ankle. So would be pretty surprised if he went here, have Dwight Powell penciled in right now as their starting center in his place. Grant Williams, he kind of hopped and ran a little bit to the locker room. His injury didn't look as bad initially, so maybe he goes, but would put him as 50-50 as well. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. Obviously, the one kind of staple is Kyrie. I think he's in a great spot either way. I think this one won't be a 30-point blowout, especially if there's no Lively. Lively has been such a crucial part to this Mavs team, especially their rim defense, interior defense, that without him, you're going to Dwight Powell, you're going to Markieff Morris, you're going to Grant Williams. Their performance has fallen off a cliff. So I think things look really good for Kyrie right now with Luka's chances of missing, with this one probably being a little bit more competitive this time if Lively misses.
Yeah, and also, are you if we get Luka out and Lively out, are you snap taking Blazers +9? I think I might. They're so bad without Luka. They're so bad without Luka. But
the Blazers are just bad with everyone.
I don't know. I think I'm still taking it, but Kyrie could just go completely ham. One other thing I'll note, you mentioned that Derek Lively aggravation is the same one he rolled real bad, around Christmas, whatever it was. But so it was weird. I saw the Mavs called up Omax Prosper 9 minutes before Luka got the downgrade, and I was like, okay, that was interesting timing there. But everything else you kind of laid out there. I think Josh Green kind of locked and loaded for at least while Exum's banged up.
The other thing that I'll note here is if they are without Derek Lively, they're already without Rashawn Holmes. If they are without Grant Williams and Markieff Morris, let's say as well, in terms of just front court players that are left on the roster, if they're without Luka as well, who can be considered a front court player, even though he does a lot of ball handling, we'd be down to basically Dwight Powell, Derek Jones Jr., Omax Prosper. Am I missing anybody?
Markieff Morris, right?
But Morris is questionable with illness as well.
Illness.
So I'm saying there's a scenario here where there's only like 3 front court players left, even on the roster. And in that scenario, I think you need to be mindful of the Portland center minutes that we were talking about before as well, because we could be playing pickup basketball out here with basically just give me your best 5 and like let's go out there and go head to head and like figure it out, because this game could play really, really, really small. So something to be kind of aware of. I know instincts will be that if like Luka is ruled out, you might be thinking, oh, like, I don't know what to do, what that means for the total. Maybe the total comes down because Luka scores so many points. Well, if Lively is ruled out and Grant Williams is ruled out, you might want to take a shot at the over in that case, because this game might have to play really fast and really small because both sides just don't have any bigs kind of left. So something to keep an eye on in the depth of the injury report. We talk a lot about when injuries get concentrated in one area. This could be a really thin front court for Dallas tonight, that they don't have options to feed.
I just want to add a couple of matchup notes. Scoot got Kyrie both ways, so they guarded each other. And there was actually a lot of Luka on Jeremy Grant. That was a little odd, as they put Derek Jones Jr. on Anthony Simons. So, it could be, if people are in and say Lively's out, this could be a really nice Jeremy Grant spot.
Yep. Okay, let's move to Miami and Phoenix. The Miami side, Jimmy Butler still out. Haywood Highsmith in concussion protocol. He's out. Orlando Robinson on G League assignment. He's out. Caleb Martin doubtful with a right ankle sprain. The zone pioneers, the Miami Heat. Justin, what are your expectations for what they look like tonight?
Yeah, about the same. I mean, we've had Jimmy out for a while, and the injury for him is pretty concerning. Just I was reading up Jeff Stotts' write-up about the history of it, and they've changed his designation twice now, specifically with it was like a foot thing, now it's a toe thing. They changed it like specifically to big toe diagnosis. Yeah. So I think this is one where Jimmy could take some time and miss another week or two with this lingering issue, but. Bam Adebayo, I think, is in a phenomenal spot against Yusuf Nurkic. His role as a playmaker in this offense without Jimmy has been, up there among the best. And I don't think there's a whole lot else to say. I mean, the foundation of this will continue to be Bam and Tyler Hero 2-man game without Jimmy.
I actually got a whole lot to say. Let's just go the whole hour on the rest of this. No, so we saw this lineup. I don't know about you, fan, but I was pretty confident Jamal Cain was starting.
For sure.
I was pretty shocked. And so Spoelstra said after the game, they were expecting the Lakers to run their big lineup out there with Austin Reeves on the bench. That's kind of how they wanted to play it. So kind of coded for that's how they were going to go. They were going into it thinking Jamal Cain was going to start. Also, just with the Jimmy stuff. So when you saw him get hurt, I don't know if I said on the show, whenever I said it, I was like, yo, he looks like he's going to miss some time. And because he instantly, talked to the trainer straight to the locker room, limping. He's like, oh, this looks terrible. And I almost tried to figure out how if I could leverage this injury for like a bet. So, yeah, I think he's missing time. And then the other thing I want to note, Bam's role, oh, my God, led the team in touch time. Like he was getting all the touches, all the dribble handoff game. It was just a Bam fest. I think it was a little bit matchup based. And then also with the Jimmy stuff, Dink and I talk a lot about this. When Jimmy's out, they zone it up like crazy. Two last games without Jimmy, they have run their most zone possessions on the season for the year. Matchup though, you're playing the Suns. You do not want to play zone if Kevin Durant's in against this, like especially with Devin Booker. You want to double Booker, right? That's what he could be doing like crazy. Booker's only seen 4 zone possessions all year. Teams just don't play zone against them. So like I'm very unsure how Spoelstra, trying to figure out what Spoelstra's going to do is kind of a fool's errand. But so yeah, I'm like kind of leaning Kane starting, but Jovic played so well that he may have hashed.
Yeah. So Jovic, I thought played a good game, like to where I don't think he's going to lose that spot. Jamal Cain has been the guy I'm identifying on this team that needs to play more. They're playing like RJ Hampton for some reason. Some of these spots are like starting him, giving him spot starts. Like Jamal Cain is clearly the guy you need to be looking at. So I'm with you. I'm with you on Cain. I think he deserves a bigger role. And
you can't play zone against Kevin Durant and Booker. We used to say you can't play zone against LeBron because he'll beat it. But the Lakers. We'll talk about the Lakers a little bit. But I just wanted to talk through some really interesting notes from that game. Spoelstra is just. I tilt losing Miami bets all the time, but that man is just above and beyond for thinking of creative ways to win basketball games.
Yeah, I will note that I think Jovic starts regardless because of how well he played, but it could be back to the nominal start stuff, which we've seen with him in the past, where we saw with RJ Hampton a nominal start where you play 8 minutes, then you don't play a lot. So I think the range on Jovic's minutes are really wide in the matchup because of the defensive requirements that potentially are needed, and certainly his minutes I think are tied to the questionable tag on Kevin Durant, which we'll get into. Meaning if Kevin Durant does play, I think Jovic's minutes are more vulnerable. If he does not play, I think they're a little bit safer because it's a little bit easier to have him out there. So Kevin Durant questionable, Eric Gordon questionable, Nas Little questionable for the Phoenix Suns. Justin, what are your notes here?
Yeah, I think KD is going to miss this one. He was very limited in practice yesterday, and they updated his status or his injury from hamstring soreness to hamstring strain, which is notable for me, just kind of in the severity of it. So would expect him to miss. I don't really have too big of leans on Eric Gordon or Nas Little. Eric Gordon just kind of popped up without any context on this injury report as questionable. But, I think, no KD would be obviously massive for Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Beal, we saw him get all the way up to 41 minutes last game. So obviously no cap whatsoever. So I think that's kind of the way I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, Booker losing a little bit of handling to Bradley Beal, but obviously, he's I think he's having a huge game today. I should add that. Just with Durant, on top of what you noted, he was working with strength and conditioning coaches at shoot around today. Thanks to Dwayne Rankin for tweeting that out. So like all the signs are there that he's going to miss. Should note that this is not the same hamstring that was like the bad one when he was on the Nets when he missed like a month or almost 2 months. So not the same hammy, but yeah, it's looking. You don't play Kevin Durant at less than 100%. So I think I agree he's going to kind of miss bowl season. Any bowl takes. Yeah, excited to see how he does. Not a great matchup. Miami's zone is usually pretty good at limiting rim stuff. Although I should note their rim defense has been terrible this year. They're second worst in the NBA in at rim points per possession.
Yeah, I would just say on Bull, in terms of things that they potentially need with Kevin Durant sidelined, they potentially need length. They have struggled with second unit rim protection. Drew Eubanks has struggled all year long. So these are things that Bull can potentially fill. So him getting an audition to fill those things makes a lot of sense. And then the Kevin Durant stuff, I mean, who could have possibly foreseen something like this coming after he was playing 38 minutes a night for 4 straight weeks? Like, how could you possibly envision Kevin Durant breaking down at that point and needing some time off? It's just the ebbs and flows of the NBA season. Let's move to Orlando and Denver. On the Orlando side, very full injury report here. Lots of out tags.
Oh, boy.
So they are without Markelle Fultz, Gary Harris, Kevon Harris, Jet Howard, Joe Ingles, Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, and they have a questionable tag on Wendell Carter Jr. for right knee tendonitis. Mike, what is left of the Orlando Magic tonight?
Off the top, I think Wendell's missing. So we've seen him listed with this before. After the game, Mosley said he got hurt again. So knee tendonitis aggravation, that's usually a sit. So I'm thinking he's out. They are thin. I'm checking. Actually, let me check one more time. I'm like waiting for them to call up guys. Like they don't have the Jet Howards, the Kevon Harrises of the world. Did they call them up on the 2:30? They did. No, I don't want to look at Orlando Robinson. They did not. So that's how down bad they are. And we were actually on this. We didn't have Trevelin Queen for 38, but there was kind of quoted commentary that they were going to bring somebody in out of the blue. We listened to Jamal Mosey's pregame presser, and I was like, oh, this is Trevelin Queen's music. So we were on that there, and I expect them to play again. They're going to start Caleb Houston, I think. Yeah. They go to Anthony Black. I think they do, but I won't be surprised if Trevelin Queen just starts. Black's not been playing very well. Against Denver, it sounds terrible to me. So certainly Jalen Suggs played freaking awesome in this game, by the way. It was one of the best defensive games I've ever seen him play. So for sure him, for sure Goga, for sure Powell. I would say for sure Caleb Houston. Are you with me there? Yeah. And then I'm like leaning Anthony Black, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Trevelin Queen. We're like trying to find minutes here. Like we can't. We're like trying to give minutes to Admiral Schofield. We're like really, we're Chumo KK. We don't give him too many. So I'll just one thing I want to note too. Holy Powell roll. He had over 10 minutes of touch time. He was running the offense at will. You never see wings with that kind of touch time. You rarely see anyone with it. 10 minutes. So minutes help, but just want to shout out Powell. It was a little my flag plant 2 games ago was pretty good, but not the perfect game. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you on Wendell Carter Jr. Didn't return Wednesday. He played the final 4.5 minutes of regulation, then sat out both overtime periods. He was dealing with that same right knee tendonitis heading in, missed the game on December 29th with it. So would expect, would think he misses this one. And without him, they're down to 10 available players. And I think all 10 of those guys will play. I do feel pretty good about Anthony Black starting just because, coaches like routine and just kind of going with what they've done in the past. I think there's a good chance those are just like, it's a nominal, start and doesn't play upper 20s, low 30s minutes for sure. We've seen that from Anthony Black in the past, but would expect that starting lineup to be Black, Suggs, Houston, Paolo, and Goga. And their bench unit be Cole Anthony, Trevelin Queen, Chuma, Mo Wagner, and then some Admiral Schofield mixed in. Schofield got in the rotation last game. So, like you mentioned, 40% usage rate for Paolo last game. Suggs at 27%. Those two, along with Cole Anthony, are going to have to carry the bulk of this offense. You kind of look at the players that are around them today: Anthony Black, Caleb Houston, Truma, Movog. Those are like lower usage players, right? Anthony Black specifically. I mean, those guys have been like low teens in terms of usage so far. So those three, just gonna have massive roles. We've seen Paolo this season, 35% usage rate without Franz and Markelle Fultz on the court. So don't have much else to say. Jalen Suggs, I agree, looked awesome last game. I mean, he's been playing really well.
Last thing to add really quick was Cole Anthony was playing through this injury and they sat him out for a game. So I expect him to have some ill effects. I think the minutes will still be like a little bit limited because he's playing through it. You can't imagine you heal that fast from that injury like that.
Yeah, and if they're without Wendell Carter Jr., I'm counting 10 available if they were without Wendell Carter Jr. So just note that they guys that would be in the second unit would probably be likely to play blowout in any situation because they just wouldn't have any additional bodies there unless they do call up G Leaguers. So guys like Mo Wagner, who've been good point per minute guys in the past, if the game gets out of hand, might actually get the closing kind of blowout minutes, which is not usually the case when they have a full roster available to them.
For Cole, in terms of minutes, you're saying a little limited. I still have him at like 28 and a half. Is that around where you guys have him?
We have him more. We actually had to bring him down. I had the numbers mixed up. Yeah, we're going to take him down. We'll have him at like 24.
24? That seems low to me.
25. 25, I think. We have him at 28 right now. I'm
assuming I don't have Wendell in my projections right now, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, they need somebody who can generate offense is the thing that I note. So I don't know how much his body can handle, but I imagine however much his body can handle, he will play. Because any minute that Paolo's not on the court, he has to be on the court as kind of a starting point. And then really they just need some other shot creators there. It'll be interesting to see if Mo Wagner's impacted too without playing with his brother, because they've had a nice kind of pick and roll chemistry during the course of the season. Okay, Denver hasn't submitted yet. They're on the second night of back-to-back after the big game winner last night in Golden State by Jokic, which I was in bed for. So I woke up to finding that out today. That was great. I think we can skip past the Nuggets because we don't have much to go off of there. We can move to Detroit in Golden State. On the Detroit side, Alec Burks listed questionable. Questionable. I'm reading this right. Questionable. Tibbs wants to trade for him. No. Oh, sorry. That says right hamstring soreness. Questionable tag for Alec Burks. Isaiah Stewart listed out with the great right toe sprain. Justin, what are your notes on Alec Burks tonight and the Pistons?
Big role for him on Wednesday. Season high 34.2 minutes in that loss. He scored 20 plus in consecutive games. So he's kind of like ramping up a little bit. And his emergence really cut down on the minutes of Jaden Ivey. And kept Killian Hayes to a pretty limited reserve role. So I think, his availability would directly impact Ivy and Hayes specifically. And then, maybe we see like either like Marcus Sasser or Joe Harris get in the rotation if Alec Burke ends up missing. So that's kind of all I got. But he's been on a good little run here.
Yeah, and I'll just note Cade, just massive role. Third in drives and touch time. Over his last 5 games, the pick and roll handling stuff's been way up. The turnovers have been coming down. I said last time I wish I covered Boyd Cade for this game. I said that yesterday, and he's kind of here to stay. I think he's interesting. If they could keep this game close, I think it's because Cade goes off. He's
been pretty easy to predict these days because it's like soft matchup for Cade. Cade plays well. Tough matchup for Cade. He's terrible. Is what it seems like. Some interesting draft conversation that we can save for another show of whether you'd rather have Jalen Suggs or Cade Cunningham if you're trying to win basketball games. But all right, Golden State side.
Wow, that is very spicy, Dink.
That's super spicy. I would take Cade, no doubt. I know it's not
that's very spicy. I want to hear the it sounds like it's a safe space.
No, it's a Denon draft take that I've seen floated on Twitter before and got some flames on it. I know you guys are Cade backers, so I figured I'd float it out there for some flames as well.
3 weeks ago, I think. Well, 3 weeks ago, Suggs was terrible, and so was Cade. And I don't
Suggs
know,
has been good all year. So in terms of contributing to winning, Suggs has been good all year because defensively he's so good. Like
I don't know about that. I think
the advanced metrics like Suggs defense quite a bit.
I'm like an old man over here. Happy birthday.
Golden State side of things. What do we do with this Kuminga report? Justin, are you adjusting any of your expectations? We don't have an injury report filed for Golden State, but the reporting from The Athletic on Jonathan Kuminga being done with Steve Kerr, I am interested to see if we see any repercussions tonight. We know Draymond Green is nearing a return. I don't expect it to be tonight, but what are your thoughts? Yeah, what are your thoughts, Justin, on the Warriors tonight?
I mean, Kerr's been in the game for a while, man. He's not going to respond to these threats and these backhand sources close to Kuminga reports. I mean, if Kuminga has something to say, you just say it to Steve Kerr directly, And Kerr's a big boy. Like, he's not going to go capitulate and start playing Kuminga a lot more just because he's unhappy and he whined about it to the media. So I think if anything, it's a bad thing for Kuminga's outlook. I don't think Kerr is kind of like petty wars and gonna slash his minutes just because he said this. Because I do think there is some truth to it. At a base level, Andrew Wiggins has been very, very bad. I saw, a report like a week or two ago from Advanced Stats that he's the least improved player in the NBA so far this season. So, you kind of look at, that there's a merit that he should have played Kuminga. But yeah, I don't think Kerr's going to respond great to this in general. I don't know. It's where are you guys at with like in terms of like actually making adjustments to projections and things like that?
I haven't gotten there yet. We did it the first run of it, and we've just been like so far behind that we couldn't make adjustments on it. But I don't know, man. Like, I think I don't know. I think he screwed up clearly. Like they blew. They were plus. I almost took a money line. I was like, they're gonna blow this game, and I didn't do it. I'm a chicken. But like, like there were. So it was funny. I was like, who are they gonna close with? And there were so many micro subs. We saw like Dario at center. We saw Trace Jackson Davis sneak in there. Looney, Pods in and out. CP in and out. Like he kept sub. He had opportunities to sub him in, and he didn't do it, man. Like he'd rather just like lose the games than play Kuminga. It's just like, what the hell? It's frustrating, and I get it, man. That quote he had after Christmas. Let me pull that up too, because the last time they played, I talked about in the open. So on Christmas to Marcus Thompson, he said, sometimes I come out of the game not knowing what I did, and that messes with my head. It's like, what do they want me to do? I could pass. I could do different. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's like he gets nuked or mega, like the 34 he got 2 games ago. Really
I'll say this. And we see it all the time across different sports that when things go sideways, it's always easy and convenient to pin it on the coach. And what happens is, rather than talk about the play of any specific player down the stretch of last game, what gets magnified and what you're going to see on all these talk shows today is Kerr's decision not to play Kuminga.
Yep.
Nobody's talking about Steph Curry going 0 for 5 in the final 6 minutes and having a horrendous cross-court turnover that at the end of the game that basically made the comeback complete, right? So yes, I think Kerr is at fault here, but I think it's massively blown out of proportion, and I've always been a Steve Kerr supporter generally. And this is like the same thing when people are saying like Derek White should be an all-star. You need to say who shouldn't be an all-star if you want Derek White to be an all-star. If you think Steve Kerr should be fired, tell me who else is out there that would be a better head coach for this team than him. Like, you want some Mark Jackson out there. Like, what are we doing here?
Dink and I talked about this with Darvin Ham. I think there's only one coach candidate out there that I would consider. It's Terry Stotts, because he wanted to coach this year. That fallout with the Dame Griffin thing, that'd be the only guy on my list. We're not there yet with Kerr. He's too secure with this job. I mean, he's had mistakes. The Warriors Twitter loves to go after him. I think this is probably one of his. I'm with you. I'm a pretty big Kerr guy. I hope no one drafted Steve Kerr, but I'm with you. And again, so back to your point, we're over an hour, by the way. it's so easy for us and people on TV to attack the coach because, we can't, shoot threes like Steph. We can't dunk like all these guys. And, it's just easy to pick on the coach. So it's mostly garbage. But, yeah, I think Kerr's fine. And I think that, he screwed up. And I think we could see a lot of coming in. There's a whole lot of ways this can go. And, trying to say for sure is just not possible.
Yeah. Chat acknowledging that Steve Kerr got punched in the face by Michael Jordan. He's not backing down from going outside sources with Kuminga here. I do think this is a volatile situation. I think it's a get right matchup for it to be a volatile situation, which could mean either direction, right? Getting Detroit at home, which by the way, since Cade Cunningham's been a professional basketball player, he's won 23% of the games he's played. So for all the Cade stands out there, they get Detroit. They get Detroit at home, wow. And as a result, I think you could see them handle Detroit in a way that it's easy enough to facilitate either narrative that you want to play. Either that he can take this as a punishment to Kuminga, which I think if that's going to happen, we're finding that out with the starting lineup. So my whole take on this is if you see a starting lineup that doesn't involve Kuminga, know that the floor is really low tonight because there could be a punishment being induced. If you see a starting lineup that is with Kuminga, I actually think the ceiling is incredibly high because the matchup with Detroit is a particularly good one to be able to say and try to get things in good graces. And I think that we've talked about this all year long across our content. The coaching job Steve Kerr has in Golden State now is very difficult because you're dealing with aging veterans trying to adjust to their own role, making their last run at things while you've got these younger players who haven't really earned their own minutes anyway. And it's all kind of been coming to a head the last 2 years with the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green incident, the Jordan Poole trade, the CP3 trade, all these different things. And so I don't know who, I'm guessing that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are probably not liking this tactic by Jonathan Kuminga just as much as Kerr is not liking this tactic from Jonathan Kuminga. And so I think Steve Kerr has the opportunity to potentially let Kuminga run here and then say all right, let's regroup and get a win. And let's bring this all together. But I could also see it going the other way with a punishment where the veterans are like, Steve, you can't let this guy try to do this to our team. And so I don't know, but I know the starting lineup would have a big impact on how I'd be treating Jonathan Kuminga tonight.
One thing I don't want to forget. Is Trace Jackson Davis starting, or was the Looney thing purely?
That was exactly what I was just about to bring up. I think that was a one-game thing to match up with Jokic, and then TJD's back in there tonight.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Hopefully Trace can see some sort of normalization in his rates because as a bench guy in garbage time, they've been massive. And then as a starter, they've been really tiny, and it's killing me on a projection side of things, trying to figure out where to project him. All right. Memphis and the Lakers, 2 games left to go through. On the Memphis side, Vince Williams listed questionable here. They're without Derrick Rose and Jake LaRavia. Mike, what are your notes on the Grizzlies tonight?
So let's start with the Bismack Biyombo thing. We were a bit flummoxed by the Xavier Tillman start. We took an under on him. And after the game, we found out, and Dink was on this pretty early, and I thought about it, but we always love to take unders on players who don't have consistent minutes. It's kind of one of our jams. Biz was a back-to-back thing. My parents' dog's just wilding out. So I would expect Bismack Biyombo to get back in the starting lineup, but they do want to look at this Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson stuff. So I think Santi, given the fact that Biz's and Xavier Tillman's floors are so low, we saw Tillman basically out of rotation the previous 2 games. So I think that they're really in flux. We know Xavier Tillman and Ja kind of meshed well together. So I think Xavier Tillman could come back to life, but again, I still lead with him. Marcus Smart's minutes have been pretty secure. But they're going to get Vince Williams back. So Zaire Williams was supposed to be out of the rotation, but we saw Ja tweak his ankle, and then they brought Zaire in to what they thought it would have been his minutes. He played great, and he kind of ran out there. So I think Zaire may have earned it a little bit. So expecting a starting lineup of Ja, Bane, Smart, Jaren Jackson, Biz. I think Zaire may go away. Obviously, Luke Kennard will be in there. Santi Aldama will be in there. Vince Williams will be in there. And then you're kind of grasping at straws. I kind of think Zaire is next. And then maybe Tillman, and then maybe Roddy, maybe Contra, but I don't have a great feel on the last 2 guys in. What do you think, Fan?
I'm with you. I mean, you seem pretty confident Vince is back. Obviously his presence would affect things for Zaire and Contra specifically. I have Zaire a head of contract in the rotation, kind of the last one in. But I'm with you on everything else. I think you did a good job kind of nailing that.
Thanks.
All right, Lakers side of things, Anthony Davis probable, left ankle sprain, bone bruise, LeBron James questionable, left ankle tendinopathy, D'Angelo Russell doubtful, tailbone contusion, Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura still out here. Obviously, all the reporting around the frustrations with roles, starting lineups, so on and so forth. LeBron James not answering questions after last game. So, Justin, what are your expectations for what the Lakers look like tonight?
Disjointed, as they have been, just trying to find solutions, lineup combinations that work, that get them out of this rut. I think Darvin has a point in that there's been a lot of lack of continuity just because of injuries and guys in and out. But at the same time, other teams are having those issues too. You look across at Miami as a team that has had even more issues with guys missing games and bigger names than Jimmy Butler, and they've weathered the storm and figured it out, right? So it is a factor, but I don't think it's good enough to be an excuse. And for me, it's Austin Reeves has obviously emerged as one of the biggest winners of this, kind of mess. He's played 36 minutes in each of the last 2 games. I think his role should continue to be around there moving forward, because he's been obviously doing Austin Reeves things, playing really solid basketball for them, moving the ball, providing a lot of stuff that they need. So would think he's in a really good spot again today. LeBron's interesting with this. They keep like flipping his injury designation. We have a Google sheet that we use to kind of track everything internally. Nice. And we have like 4 versions of LeBron's for each different injury to kind of track each one. And we're back to like version 2 now with this ankle stuff. He hasn't been listed with this ankle since Christmas. So I don't know what this means, but he's probably fine to go. But just I wanted to note that. The Lakers have just generally just been very consistent with these like fake questionable tags. So I think he's fine. Anthony Davis, I'm willing to go back to. I mean, he absolutely sunned Bam Adebayo last game. I mean, he outplayed him thoroughly. He is one of the best players in the league right now, just playing at that level. Obviously a really tough matchup here against Jaren Jackson Jr., but I'm not afraid of it. On paper, LeBron should be the one you prefer of the two with the better matchup. But AD is just playing on another stratosphere right now, to where I think he's just matchup proof. I just saw it with Bam, and Bam's one of the best in the business at this. And he's just too hot right now to kind of fade. I would go back there, no question, even with the tough matchup.
Yeah, one thing I agree. Like I was writing up Davis, and I was like, I should put him in a bad matchup, but just can't. He's that good. And I'll add, the Grizzlies allowed the most blocks in the NBA, so it could get a little bit of block equity in this game. The big question for me is who starts. I feel, and it sounds like you agree, Austin Reeves lock City. Burn your 6-man tickets if you got them. Are you agree there?
Yep.
LeBron locked, AD locked. I think Torian's locked. Pretty locked. I feel very, 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 very confident Jared Vanderbilt starting today. Not only do you have the report, but think about the matchup. We saw them go with that Vando on John Morant thing. Cam Reddish is too slow to guard him. They like Vando on Morant. I feel really strongly Jared Vanderbilt starting, and I think they just roll with it. A starting lineup of that's a starting lineup you want to ride with, right? You've got your 3 best players. You've got a floor spacer in Taurean Prince, and you've got an on-ball defender in Jared Vanderbilt. Easy game. Take that lineup. This is the perfect spot to do it. Hopefully nobody else gets hurt, and just run with it. So that's how I feel about.
They're gonna run with it until Rui Hachimura is back, and then then Darvin's gonna come out and say they're gonna run that lineup for the foreseeable future.
I don't get it.
I'm so tired of it. Like
I'm so tired of the switch. I talked about this on the pod we did. Why are you switching so much, man? Just play like your standard defense. Let AD roam the paint and shut down the interior. Like you're getting way too cute, man. You could listen to the podcast for more takes if you want.
Yeah, we're at that point with the Lakers right now where they just don't have any options. Like you can't switch. Like you're not going to start Christian Wood or Max Christie or Hutchel Fino or Jackson Hayes, right? And Cam Reddish, I think, has proven he should not be starting. Like he's not a starting level player. He had a little stretch there where he was productive. IST played well when things were going well, but he has been terrible. So There's only really one lineup change you can kind of make at this point with who they have without D'Lo and Rui Hachimura.
Yeah. And I'll add, I'm a dangerous man today. I'm on Lakers -4. I think they kind of go out there and handle their business. I just think they match up so well with Memphis. Memphis has been, like, we saw that hot Ja streak. They've been bad, man. Their offense has been horrendous. Excluding that game they didn't have Ja against Denver, even those like last 4 games, they've been really bad. They've been like 23rd-ish offensive efficiency, and I think the Lakers are going to be able to shut them down. They're going to play AD 43 minutes. Give me the team playing 43 minutes against the offense that's been struggling.
Yeah, I took an off market. We couldn't find widely available liquidity on 29.5 on AD last game points. And I was like, he's not scoring 30 on Bam. And then I just was watching the game. I was like, oh, he's scoring 30 on Bam. And then he didn't come out in the second half. And I was like, I really need a sub here. Hung on the 29. Out there for kids out there that are betting, especially if you're over 18 and still a kid betting, make sure to shop and get the best line, because 28.5 versus 29.5 made a big difference. So, all right, Toronto and Sacramento. Toronto side: Gary Trent Jr. questionable, left quad contusion; Otto Porter Jr. doubtful, right knee sprain. Justin, what are your expectations on the possible absence from Gary Trent Jr. a midday ad here?
Yeah, just never really a good sign. And we saw his minutes kind of continue to go down, kind of bottomed out at 21.5. That's the least he's seen in a while. So would think who we thinking kind of steps in? McDaniels into that spot if he ends up missing. I don't think it's Thad, Garrett Temple. They're kind of limited. Yeah, kind of limited in what they can do. And obviously Jonte is like a Jonte Boucher, more front court players. So I think it would be McDaniels kind of stepping in that role, and then just bolsters kind of the minutes floor of the starters. We know Darko has taken a page out of like the Nick Nurse Tibbs playbook at times, and hasn't been afraid to run his starters extended minutes. So it could be really good for Schroeder as well. If they're a little thinner in the backcourt.
Let's talk. I can't believe we saw Jonte Porter, Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. That was ultimate who he play for moment. And there is some like major who he play fors on Wednesday. Talking about Trevor Queen, Jonte Porter, and there's another like random rotation player. I guess maybe it was Trent Forrest. No, it was somebody else. Can't remember. Anyways, let's talk role. Maybe it'll come to me while I'm talking about this. I want to talk Scotty Barnes' role. He's lost touch time like crazy. They flipped his role from like a really initiator, get the ball on the perimeter and kind of run offense. He's lost it. He's had more role man possessions in the 2 games with IQ than he's had in his last 9 games combined. So this is a big adjustment. The touch time's cratered. He was like leading the team-ish. So I could see, he's still getting usage. Like his stats are going to look okay. But I expect the assist numbers for Scotty, like he's been running a little bit hot, like just from it's a little bit unnatural. It's more like post create, almost like earlier LeBron kind of offensive creation. It's just not like your classical role. Just wanted to note that Pirtle's minutes held up in the last game. Certainly a big matchup to do here against Sabonis, so he's kind of should be pretty secure. And then Schroeder should be pretty busy here too. I think that they're going to want a point of attack defender. They've actually had Scotty Barnes be point of attack. He was the guy guarding Ja to start the game, and then they brought Schroeder in to pick up much of that assignment. So, without Gary Trent, we could see a lot of Schroeder. He could just sub in early and run for 35 minutes. So I think he's like kind of a low-key beneficiary if they run pretty tight. We've seen Darko go pretty tight. So this could be, this matchup, this is the game.
I think without Gary Trent, this could be like 6 starters, quote unquote starters that play 100%. Like 32 to 38 minutes or something like that. And 40. Then you have, and plus Chris Boucher, and maybe like a little bit of like Jonte or something on the back end. Mm-hmm. But that has that vibe for me where they're just playing 6 starters.
Yeah, and should mention IQ, just fantastic game, really aggressive scoring. He has that little float game still popping, although that last little floater he missed freaking cost us a Pascal under, because Pascal tipped it in. But anyways, we should note Pascal's role has been really good. I love this matchup for him, so I think Pascal could have a pretty big game. And yeah, this rotate, 2 bad defenses. This is the late night hammer game for DFS, in my opinion.
This is the beginning of, I don't think DFS sites have this game on tonight because they're cutting off the 10 o'clock. So you'll have to play a different slate for that one. But
One more thing I'll add too is that Jakob Poeltl has been really good since the trade in terms of his role in his minutes.
He was great.
That leads me to a second point that I'll get back to in a second. First point. This is the beginning of the Pascal Siakam sales tour. Sacramento at Golden State at the Lakers. Let's see if we can drop Pascal off on this trip and save some miles for him. 2, Jakob Poeltl has been playing really well. I was going to talk about him as well, and I remembered how much crap we gave Chris Lafayette for taking Jakob Poeltl in the My Guy draft last year. So I went to the My Guy draft this year, and I forgot that I took Jakob Poeltl at a spite late in the draft because I was so tilted by other guys being taken. I didn't want to take anybody else. And so I was going to mock Chris Lafayette as the only person in the world that would draft Jakob Poeltl in the My Guy draft. And then I went to the sheet to find out I had drafted Jakob Poeltl in the My Guy draft. So real tough scene for me here. All right. King side, I think we can go pretty quickly here. They just have their G Leaguers listed out. Any notes there, Gallagher, on the Kings?
Not really. Just Malik Monk. He should be the 6th man of the year favorite is kind of my take. I kind of jammed. I maxed out everything I could on like the 600 stuff. Yeah, that's kind of all I got. Chris Duarte is just Chris Duarte is not playing well enough. They're going to keep starting him. Kevin Huerter's dead. Again, this is the game I want, although it's not on DFS site. It's sad. So yeah, I'm probably not too busy to play DFS today anyways. But yeah, I don't really have much to add. I expect Fox to bounce back in a big way. He was a cover boy candidate for me. Keegan playing pretty well again. Should shout him out real quick.
My take is that this team needs to make a move for a front court player. The solutions we're seeing for Mike Brown are starting Chris Duarte and like playing Malik Monk and Trey Lyles silly minutes. Malik Monk especially silly. They need. God, if a team needs Pascal Siakam, it's this team. You move Keegan to the 3, have him be your perimeter defender. Like, my goodness. Like, last deadline, I thought they'd make a move. I hope they do something this deadline.
Yep. Yeah, they don't have a lot to give, though. From an asset standpoint, like, they just have future picks because there's nothing on the roster that's like a young, intriguing player that you want to take on that they'd be willing to give up. So like, it's a tough sell. It'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see if the Siakam Golden State rumors perk up after today's Athletic article as well with Kuminga. So the Siakam days in Toronto, I think Toronto getting a win against Memphis the other day was kind of big to keep him there a little bit longer, but I'm interested to see if Masai is working the phones. All right. That'll do it for this elongated edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you are supporting us, if you enjoy the content that we're putting out here, we'd like you to support the people who are supporting us. So check out all of the great stuff going on at Underdog Fantasy, daily snake drafts for NBA, playoff best ball contests for the NFL, where you can tilt your face off at some rando taking a third quarterback in the 5th round and then go to Twitter just like I do. You can be just like me. You can check out the gauntlet, the mitten, the little gauntlet, all the different playoff basketball contests that are such fun formats. Pick'em contests as well. Justin, anything else that I've missed on the Underdog Fantasy side of things?
No, you did a great job of laying that out. We'll have Gil's Arena, the show that we have with Gilbert Arenas doing that shootout competition here in LA in a couple of weeks. I'm excited.
Oh, that's right. Peter Jennings has manifested his way into pre-rolling for like $100,000. This guy, nobody runs hotter than this guy.
Nobody runs hotter.
He just says stuff that he wants to happen in the universe, and the universe is like, yeah, I got your back. They're like, oh, you want a nationwide 3-point contest, Pete? We'll figure out a way to have that done for you.
Yep. This guy's coming out here playing the Riv the day before, and then a 3-point shootout for $100K free roll the next day. What a life! What a life!
And as he'll let you know, he's doing everything he can to be the best dad to those 2 children as he possibly can. So, all right. if you enjoy the content that we're putting out here for free, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. We're trying to get this YouTube channel up to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season, and we need your help to do so. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you're interested in finding any of our content behind the paywall, you can see me and Mike Gallagher at 5 p.m. Eastern time tonight talking through this slate from a DFS perspective, the good chalk, the bad chalk, the leverage contrarian plays, and of course, those flag plants that Gallagher has been nailing of late. We'll be there.
I'm so tilted. Don Barrow got hurt yesterday. So tilted.
You can find all of that information at establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA. And of course, if you're supporting this show while it's free, because who knows, the more support we get on the show, you never know. It might end up behind a paywall if the ETR executives find out about it. If you don't want it to be behind a paywall, you got to smash the like button because we got to get the ad revenue, right? That's how we pay ourselves here. So, feed the algo by smashing that like button. It helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, make your spread bets, and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm, feed yourselves all weekend long. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you on Monday.